Hey everyone, welcome to this episode. I'm your outdated Gen Z himself, and want to know something that'd be really bad? Is if all of my episodes of the Outdated Gen Z got ported over to Instagram. Not only is it now on a meta platform, but now it's always stuck in some crappy aspect ratio, and as well, it's all stuck in some short content style. It's gonna be like Family Guy clips on there. Well, today it's time to look at some bad video game ports throughout history. Not all of them, just a small little handful that I chose out myself. Now, bad game ports are bound to happen, especially now that we're in a time where there's just nothing but video game re-releases most of the time now. But anyways, these ports could either be bad because it's either a remake, or they were just, bad. So let's take a look at our first example here. Super Mario Bros. Deluxe. Honestly, I think that Super Mario Bros. Deluxe is actually pretty good. Most people absolutely despise it because of the screen crunch. And honestly, I can't really blame them. The screen is definitely the worst part about this version of Super Mario Bros. But honestly, I think the additions made to this version makes up for the fact that it's on a tiny screen in the first place. There's a map now. Sure, you can't really interact with it, but you can swap between Mario and Luigi while you're on the map. You can unlock the lost levels. There's tons of extra bonus content, like this side high score red coin Yoshi thing, and fortune telling. And I can't lie here, the fortune telling in this game is actually really accurate. Like, I'm serious here. Really. But for me personally, even though the screen crunch absolutely sucks, I more consider this to be a remaster of some sort. Sure, the graphics are the exact same as the NES version, and the only thing that they really truly added to the base game is a new credits theme. But other than that, dude, this is a great version of Super Mario Bros. Regardless of the screen crunch. Now, Donkey Kong Country on the same console as Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, being the Game Boy Color. The Game Boy Color, or any Game Boy in general, I don't really think is made for the 2.5D style of games, which is taking 3D models, then putting them into a 2D game. But honestly, it is a pretty impressive port, and to me personally, is a lot better than the Donkey Kong Land series, because the original Game Boy is a lot weaker in power to the Game Boy Color. And I'm telling you, the Game Boy Color, I swear, is just not a Game Boy with color. It runs better than the original Game Boy. I'm telling you, but can it run Donkey Kong Country? Absolutely not. Same problems as Super Mario Bros. Deluxe. It has horrible screen crunch, and porting Super Nintendo games to this console is not a really good idea. The Game Boy Advance versions of Donkey Kong Country is definitely a lot better, and I don't really consider them bad. So, yeah, I played Donkey Kong Country on Game Boy Color, so you don't have to. It sucks. Well, not only is Sega Smash Pack on the Game Boy Advance a compilation, it's a bad one too. So these are clearly not even emulated versions of these games. They're straight up built from the ground up, I guess, but done really horribly. Like, once again, it's on a smaller screen, so screen crunch is definitely gonna be a thing. Duh. But the problem here is the music and sound effects. It sounds like a Tuesday morning stank ass. Echo the Dolphin is definitely really bad now because of the stupid music. And Golden Axe, I never really played the original. It seems pretty fine to me. But because I play an embarrassing amount of Sonic Spinball, what have they done to Sonic Spinball? Well, of course, this collection already sounds like complete ass. So, what's even worse about it? Well, there's lots of music and sound effects missing from this version of the game. The options menu is gone, which I mean, it's probably for the better if the collection already sounds like this, and we already know how bad the options menu sounds in the original Genesis version. Every level uses the Toxic Caves theme, and as well, the bosses just uses the level theme anyways, so it's just nothing but Toxic Caves you'll be hearing in normal gameplay. And the bonus stage has no music now too, so now you can just get jump scared by some explosion sounds. But this isn't over for bad versions of Sonic Spinball. Sonic Spinball on the Game Gear. I don't like this version at all. I don't get why Sega's so proud of themselves for re-releasing this version in Sonic Origins Plus. For one, they didn't even try to make the soundtrack the same as the Genesis version, just in an 8-bit style. It's just completely original, and the music tracks just suck now. It can be worse though, I'll give them that. They also have this weird, goofy intro cutscene where Tails just looks weird, and his plane looks like a toy. And as well, the level design in this version of Sonic Spinball, although pretty faithful, is changed just enough so that way it's just complete shit now. L version of Sonic Spinball would not suggest. Now onto something not Mario and Sonic related for once. Pac-Man for the Atari 2600. Definitely one of the most well-known bad arcade ports for the Atari 2600. Sure, it's to be expected because the Atari 2600 kinda sucks in the hardware department, but they could have done a way better job with this port. For one, the maze isn't even accurate to the arcade version at all. They just made up their own thing and just made some weird simple design instead. The pellets that Pac-Man eats are just rectangles now. The ghosts are always flickering because there's too many sprites on screen, which I guess once again is a hardware issue, so I guess it's not really their fault. But Pac-Man isn't able to face up or down anymore. The ghosts don't even have their own special movement anymore. They just all only chase Pac-Man and that's it. And they didn't even try with the music at all for the intro. It's just a couple beep boops and that's it. And as well, these beep boops are way too loud in this. I don't know why. Or maybe that's just the Atari 2600 thing. It's probably just an Atari 2600 thing. And I just am complaining for no reason because this is the first time I actually played an Atari 2600 game. Now on to some fighting games. Starting off with Street Fighter 2 for the Game Boy. Honestly, I had a pretty good time with this port, I'm not gonna lie. Sure, the frame rate is absolutely horrible, but other than that, it's actually a pretty decent version with the Game Boy standards in mind. And there are some things that I like a little bit better compared to the actual original version of Street Fighter 2. Like for example, it's way easier to pull off the special moves because there's less buttons on the Game Boy to worry about. I know, I suck at fighting games when it comes to too many buttons, unless if it's Smash Brothers of course, because it just takes 2 inputs, and that's what this is basically. Just put in 2 inputs, boom, you're golden. You did a Hodoken. But as well, is it a bad thing that this is the first time I ever got a perfect match in Street Fighter 2? And this is also the first time I got 3 perfects in a row for Street Fighter 2? Probably it's the Game Boy version. Oh, that's a horrible title to my name. Pro at Street Fighter 2 for Game Boy. Next we got Mortal Kombat games on Game Boy. To start things off, it's already going to be a bad version of Mortal Kombat because it's one of the old Nintendo platforms that didn't allow blood, so automatically really bad. But as well, Mortal Kombat 1 for Game Boy is absolutely horrible. Horrible frame rate, runs really slow, and it just looks really bad. Mortal Kombat 2, same thing, but the frame rate isn't as bad. It's actually pretty playable. Now Mortal Kombat 3, worst out of the bunch. Why did you even port this to the Game Boy in the first place when you knew it was going to have horrible frame rate, run even slower than Mortal Kombat 1, and just look even worse than Mortal Kombat 1 on Game Boy? Okay. We need to calm things down now a little bit, stop going through the really bad ports out of the bad ports, and talk about something that I actually really like, and most people don't like because of one singular thing. Why does everyone hate on Super Mario 64 DS just because of the controls? This is a fantastic version of Mario 64. Sure, you're forced to start out as Yoshi, but that's cool. A new way to play Mario 64. Plus, you can still unlock Mario later on, which sure, having to unlock Mario in Mario 64 just makes no sense at all, and this game was created with Mario in mind in the first case. But I don't care. New playable characters. Plus, there's a couple new levels here and there. Sure, they're pretty small, but whatever. And the greatest part about this game is the hedge maze that they added to the outside of Peach's castle. No, it's actually the mini games that they added to this version of the game. Me personally, I think New Super Mario Bros. Versions of all these mini games is a lot more refined. There's a lot more doubles once you unlock all these mini games in Mario 64 DS, but they're still absolutely fantastic. Nice little time wasters as always. And don't worry, you can still gamble here. But overall, I love this version of Mario 64. It could be my biasness speaking to me, because this was one of the first games I ever owned. But please, I would highly suggest anyone to play this version of Mario 64. Sure, the controls kind of suck because the DS only had a D-pad and didn't have some sort of C-stick alternative. It just used the touchscreen. But trust me, it's a great version. Lots of quality of life changes. And no, playing this on a 3DS will not make it analog, I'm sorry. And to finish it all off, we once again have a Sega game that doesn't function properly. The original Sonic the Hedgehog for Game Boy Advance. How did they fail on this? For one, the Super Mario Advance series did a lot better at porting over those classic games over to the Game Boy Advance. Just copy them! How did you fail? This is the first Sonic the Hedgehog game ever. But hey, they did add the spin dash. But no, that doesn't save it at all. The game lags with sound effects. Sound effects! Sonic just controls like shit. It's very, very close to Sonic the Hedgehog 4, but thankfully it isn't. The screen crunch is probably even worse than the Super Mario Advance series, which is why I consider Super Mario Advance series to be good, because it had tolerable screen crunch. The special stages feel like that it has a magnet that sucks you towards the gold stuff that kicks you out of the stage. And one of the worst things here is now you're able to see below the stage, where there's just no more green hill tiles left. You just see the background below there. This is an unfinished game. How did they let this through?
And that's just the tip of the iceberg with bad video game ports. There's tons that I haven't mentioned. Like, for example, there's lots and lots more arcade ports on the Atari 2600 I never even mentioned that are bad. Mother 1 Plus 2 has an extremely horrible soundtrack compared to what Earthbound and Earthbound Beginnings should be. How could you fail on 8-bit soundtracks with Earthbound Beginnings, by the way? And of course, truly, the worst video game port of all time. Ah!